BBC, Coventry and Warwickshire.
8:09 with their League One season just over a week old. Then the Sky Blues have sacked their manager Andy Thorne. 3 draws from 3 games was enough to prompt the club's bosses to let him go. Although the chief executive Tim Fisher in a statement has said the disappointing results weren't the only factor in the decision. It means the club are looking for their 11th manager since being relegated from the Premier League in 2001. Let's talk to Tim Fisher, who joins us on the line. Morning, Tim.
Good morning, Shane.
Thanks for being with us this morning. Do appreciate it. A lot of fans this morning, and the general mood seems to be, what took you so long for the ones who wanted Andy Thorne to go? What is the answer to that? Why did you wait until 3 games into a new season?
Well, at the end of last season, we took the view that Andy had been constrained last season to a larger or lesser degree, and we felt that Andy deserved an opportunity to take a look, plan, and then set off on the journey in League One. And we stipulated a very strong start to League One, as you would expect for a club of Coventry City's size. And as the French say, plus ça change, plus ça même chose. The more things change, the more things stay the same. And frankly, the string of results is just not acceptable.
So, I mean, really, because a lot of people were saying he should have gone at the end of last season. If they wanted him to go, he should have gone then. But you were saying, you were giving him the benefit of the doubt because you realised you didn't give him a lot of money to play with. Is that what you're saying?
I think Andy had a lot of constraints last season. And
do you mean financial, do you mean?
Yes, absolutely, and he lost a lot of players at the start of the previous season. If you remember, a lot of footballers left the club. This season, pre-season, we brought in 9 players. Some of the highest quality players, the Flecks, the Jennings, the Bartons of this world, and Richard and Lee constructed a squad which was and is fit for purpose. But again, we've got into this position where we can't keep a lead and frankly headed for mid-table mediocrity even at an early stage, and that is unacceptable for Coventry City.
The worry is, to go back and paraphrase your French quote, I mean, that equally applies to the finances of the club, doesn't it? You know, the more things change, the more things stay the same. You get a new guy in, he's going to be constrained in the same way. You're back to square one, aren't you?
With respect, Shane, you're so far off the mark. The finances have been turned around. We've got the second, if not the highest, wage bill in League One, just behind or equal to Sheffield United. So the teams that we've played, Yeovil, £900,000 wage bill, Bury, £1.1 million wage bill, and frankly, we should be country miles ahead of those clubs.
Is that why you can't pay the rent?
No, that's strategic. That's nothing to do with the finances. That's the fact that the rent is completely and utterly off market. And again, we've got to be careful we don't mix the arguments here, Shane. That's a very, very different discussion and a very, very different topic.
Do fans see that, though? I mean, and does that really work, that they're very different subjects and very different topics? Because as far as, you know, a fan will look at a holistic approach to all of this, Tim, won't they? And they'll say, you know, if you're a club that has a reputation for not paying the rent, whatever reason, that's not going to be good. That's a difficult backdrop with which a manager and the team will work, and so that has an impact on the... You can't compartmentalise all of this, can you?
Well, let's talk about the holistic approach. There is a cultural change at the club. That cultural change is a change for success. We will not accept mediocrity. Now, the financial negotiation around a rent, which is 10 to 12 times the rent on a normal League One club, is nothing to do with the performance of the football manager. They should not be commingled, haven't been commingled with discussions with Andy Thorne, and frankly, they should be put to one side.
Does it suggest, though, to fans that, you know, that it is a board that really hasn't got the grip that it should have of the club?
Well, you talk about grip. Let's talk about positivity. Let's look through the square window of positivity this morning. Where we are, we're in negotiations which have proceeded very well in terms of negotiating a rent for a club that the club can actually afford. Secondly, as part of these negotiations, we're also talking about getting access to match day revenues that we can put on the pitch. So every club in League One is constrained by the financial fair play rule, which means that you can only put 65% of allowable revenues on the pitch. So that gives us a ceiling, if you like. So by getting access to match day revenues, which we are negotiating at the moment, then we can put more quality on the pitch. That is a positive thing. So I would say, actually, the board have got a better grip, possibly the best grip it's had in a long time.
All right,
we're looking forward, Shane. We're not looking back.
Let's carry on then, looking and gazing through that square window of positivity then. Who do you fancy? Who are you looking at? And I know, the argument is we can't say too much and all the rest of it, but, I mean, what kind of person are you looking for to lead the Sky Blues back to promotion? I mean, you're looking for an experienced manager, for somebody who wants to prove themselves? What's the plan?
Well, you have to respect the fact that as we sit here today, we still haven't negotiated an exit with Andy Thorne.
Right.
So I'm pretty limited in what I can say. I will say whoever comes along is going to be a winner. We have got to accept there is a cultural change at the club. And that cultural change means that anybody who comes along has to embrace success. The fact that we get 3 draws out of 3 games, and frankly, on the weekend, the second half, the way we gave away a position at half-time when we should have been 6-0 up, was just not acceptable. So whoever comes in will take this club forward, and will take it forward with a winning mentality.
But I mean, you've got Richard Shaw and you've got Lee Carsley in temporary charge, and I'm not suggesting for a minute that that's going to be a permanent situation. But that was what was happening last time, wasn't it? When Andy Thorne came in, he was the assistant. And I don't know whether that's what you wanted, that's what you had to settle for. Well, I guess we'll never know the reality of that one. But he was installed at the end of the day. I mean, is that going to happen again? Are we going to see Richard Shaw as the first team manager?
Richard Shaw will be a candidate simply because Richard Shaw is hungry, and he'd be. We wouldn't want Richard Shaw if he wasn't a candidate. We want winners. We want people who actually want to take the club forward, and we'll be having those discussions with Richard over the next days, I'm sure.
Many times it's been said by people at the club, not just you, I've heard other board members say it as well, that things are going to change, things are going to be different, whether it be about communication with the fans, whether it be about money to spend, whether it be the way that things on the pitch are looked at, whether appointments are made, whatever it happens to be, things are different, things are going to change, and a lot of fans will feel that they haven't. I mean, why would they believe you this time?
Because they are changing, Shane. It's pure and simple. It's fact. So we're in negotiation to change the state of our finances with regard to the rent. We're in negotiation to get access to more revenues, which can only be a good thing and put a more competitive side on the pitch. These are realities. These are happening right now. And as I talk about the square window of positivity, we are looking through that now. We've got to look forward. And that's why, frankly, we took a decision at a very early stage. This club cannot accept mediocrity. We have to be aspirational. Coventry City in League One, it's a journey, but we've got to get out of League One, Shane.
What's the timescale for all of this, Tim?
Well, again, we shouldn't really commingle the discussions, but in terms of rent negotiations and the like, those will happen in the next weeks. In terms of announcing a change in football management, that will happen in the next weeks also. So, we are looking short term to make positive contributions to the club.
I've got to ask you, just going back to Andy Thorne again, there was this, and I've seen the quote about it several times, I think it was in the statements as well, there were several other factors in this decision. We've talked about finances. What were the others?
Well, finances weren't a factor in the decision at all with Andy. But as Einstein said, doing the same thing over and over again does not, and expecting different results, just results in insanity. We have got to move on. 3 draws, 3 leads given away. We need points. We've set ourselves a target of a very strong start to the season. We will not accept mid-table mediocrity as being okay.
But what were the other factors?
The other factors are purely that I didn't see any change in terms of the likelihood of being able to change the pattern of getting a lead, because we saw it last season, getting a lead, giving it up, and not getting maximum points. It's starting to become a deep-set trend, And you can't have trends like that if you're aspirational. We've got to get to the top of the league.
And I know there always is with football clubs, that there's a huge rumour that you were in the casino on Saturday night telling people that Thorne was gone. Do you want to shed any light on that at all?
First of all, I wasn't in the casino. I was on a train. I left pretty soon after the end of the game. And in terms of telling people what?
That Thorne had been sacked?
Not at all. It was a business decision. That decision was actually taken after long laboured discussions on Sunday.
Okay.
Nothing to do with Saturday.
I mentioned that I'm not tittle-tattling, but I mentioned that for no other reason than I think, it's better to get these things out in the open, everybody be honest and open and ask the question. In terms of fans listening this morning, and I say a lot of fans have got in touch with the show and they've been saying, we want somebody now who has a bit of pedigree. Can you give them that?
I think what you'll see is we're going to start a recruitment process. So that hasn't started. It will start, and I suspect that we will get a large number of high calibre, highly qualified managers. We'll get a number of people who are hungry and aspirational and want to achieve and get on the management ladder, and we'll make a judgment call based on the interviews and based on the track record of the individual.
Tim, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I do appreciate your time.
No, thank you very much, Shane. Have a good day.